is just fantastic. Captain's log, subdates 220525.3. It wasn't an exhaust port I entered, it was one of the most backed up arseholes I've ever seen. As I've managed to get out, I did notice there was a tear on the walls. Shocker, must have had Chipotle. A few well-placed minds should do the trick then. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing another LOLSUIT. Not akin to that of the online drama though, but one that actually has taken place in the real world, concerning very wealthy people who are clearly out of touch, more commonly known as WAGs. WAG is an acronym for wife and girlfriend. It was more commonly associated with football players in the United Kingdom, where their wives and girlfriends turned up to international duty and, well, became the star of the show, mostly because England sucked. We had some of the best players in the world, but their wives got more attention. Two of the more well-known wives and girlfriends, Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney, although it can be argued Colleen is not so much a wife and girlfriend of a footballer anymore because he's retired, that being Shrek, were once close friends and now not so much, taking their disdain all the way to a court because a reputation has been damaged and it must of course be corrected. Now, as far as I'm aware, this trial is essentially over, we just don't have a verdict yet. But I want to give you all the context as to what happened, i.e. what happened before the trial that got them to a trial, and the trial itself. It is incredibly cringy, so do brace yourselves. So how did this all begin? On October the 9th, 2019, Colleen Rooney took to Twitter to reveal the results of an investigation she had been conducting for months. She believed a friend or acquaintance had been leaking stories about her and her family to the Sun newspaper, and hatched a plan to work out who it was. This is what she wrote. For a few years now, someone who I trusted to follow me on my personal Instagram has been consistently informing the Sun newspaper of my private posts and stories. There has been so much information given to them about me, my friends, and my family, all without my permission or knowledge. After a long time of trying to figure out who it could be for various reasons, I had a suspicion. To try and prove this, I came up with an idea. I blocked everyone from viewing my Instagram stories except one account. Those on my private account must have been wondering why I hadn't had stories on there for a while. Over the past 5 months, I've posted a series of false stories to see if they made their way to the Sun newspaper. And you know what? They did. The story about gender selection in Mexico, the story about returning to TV, and then the latest story about the basement flooding in my new house. It's been tough keeping it to myself and not making any comment at all, especially when the stories have been leaked. However, I had to. Now I know for certain which account individual it comes from. I have saved and screenshotted all the original stories which clearly show just one person has viewed them. It's Rebecca Vardy's account. Rebecca Vardy had responded to this by saying, "I never speak to anyone about you, as various journalists who have asked me to over the years can vouch for. If you thought this was happening, you could have told me, and I could have changed passwords to see if it stopped. Over the years, various people have had access to my Insta, and just this week I found out I was following people I didn't know and have never followed myself. I'm not being funny, but I don't need the money. What would I gain from selling stories on you? I liked you a lot, Colleen, and I'm so upset that you have chosen to do this, especially when I'm heavily pregnant. I am disgusted that I'm even having to deny this. You should have called me the first time this happened." In June of 2020, Rebecca Vardy filed a libel claim against Colleen Rooney, which sets up the scene for a court battle which is estimated to have swallowed up to £3 million in legal costs, as it had edged closer to a full-blown trial. In November 2020, Mr. Justice Warby ruled on the meaning of Rooney's Twitter allegation, which had in turn earned her the WAGatha Christie tag. WAGatha Christie is a play-on of WAG and Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is a hugely celebrated author of crime novels, more notably Hercule Poirot, with the judge saying over a period of years the claimant had regularly and frequently abused her status as a trusted follower of the defendant's personal Instagram account by secretly informing the Sun newspaper of the defendant's private posts and stories, thereby making public without the defendant's permission a great deal of information about the defendant, her friends and family, which she did not want made public. The meaning of this left Colleen Rooney with the task of proving that Rebecca Vardy herself had been involved in the leaking of the stories to The Sun. The stories that Colleen Rooney alluded to in her Instagram post can be traced back to 2017, where she had posted on her private Instagram account, "No matter where I am, they always follow them, and I hope that lasts forever." The next day, The Sun posted an article alleging marriage problems. The following month, she posted onto Instagram a picture of her husband and their children in matching pajamas. And on November the 1st, The Sun ran a story that mentioned a picture of Wayne cuddling up to his 3 sons. In January 2019, an article appeared in The Sun about a car crash, which Colleen Rooney suspected of being leaked, which then led to Colleen Rooney to lay this trap. During the time those stories were being leaked to The Sun newspaper itself had a short-lived secret WAG column, and now part of Rooney's defense to the libel claim will center on those suspicions that Rebecca Vardy was selling those stories to The Sun newspaper. But before the trial even began, there are a number of issues that have arisen. The first is pre-trial. A phone has gone missing. Rebecca Vardy's agent Caroline Watt conveniently lost her phone in the North Sea during a boat trip, with Caroline Watt also indicating that it would have been useless anyway as she routinely deletes messages. A lot of stuff can be backed up, just saying. Around the same time, records of Rebecca Vardy's WhatsApp conversations were lost while being exported to her lawyers, with the claim being that hers and her husband Jamie Vardy's WhatsApp system were hacked, which wiped out their conversations. If anyone wants to go, "That's a bit sus," by all means, do so now. I'm sure many are now wondering, could this be settled out of court? The answer is it could have been, but money's involved and a reputation, loss of earnings. So yes, it's going to go to court. Both sides have been urged to settle this case before a trial, but a period of mediation ultimately came to nothing. 7 days at the High Court have been set aside, which is what we're going to go through in the future, maybe some today in fact, to hear the case. The trial is expected to take a deep dive into the shadowy world of leaks to newspapers, private social media sniping, and wags vying for attention in the national press. The loser will take home a rather expensive legal bill, no doubt. And this is where some issues arise. Firstly, Colleen Rooney isn't vying for attention with the national press anymore. She never was to begin with. Rebecca Vardy always kind of has, and that's helped by the fact that Jamie Vardy, her husband, is so popular and successful. Granted, he's been heckled a fair bit recently, but it's okay, he's only got a few more years left and then he'll retire anyway. When it comes to pride, and this is a big part of this, Rebecca Vardy, if found guilty, is not going to back down regardless, because she's already said it wasn't her. And because Colleen Rooney did this in a more clandestine manner to then put Rebecca on blast, yeah, this didn't really resonate well with Rebecca Vardy. And that's what makes this all really fascinating. It's fascinating because it all comes down to stories being leaked about a personal life, which, by the way, no one should be doing that. It is akin to that of doxing. You don't sell pictures of their children, you don't tell them private matters that are none of their business, because every person in every walk of life is entitled to a private life. So when Colleen is going to be defending herself and of course proving her point, this could get trickier, especially as evidence has gone missing, quite conveniently. I mentioned yesterday the 3 Ps, prepare, practice and perform. I'm sure Colleen Rooney has gathered a considerable amount of preparation, sources, information that could well help her. You're going to understand when we cover the trial itself, someone isn't as prepared as they should have been, and it's going to make them look like a complete and utter tosser. I guess owing to a lack of time today, we are going to have to do a part 2, which will be every day of the trial itself, so you can fully understand how, well, interesting it is from a particular perspective, how dumb many of them look, how this really could have been resolved outside of a courtroom. If we're lucky when I cover this again on Monday, yes, it'll be then, we'll have a verdict as well. I do know for a fact, I'm going to share this part anyway, that when the trial had concluded, well, all the testimony and evidence presenting and defending, Colleen and Wayne had just gone off on holiday, certain they are victorious. That could be interesting, especially if they're not. Foreshadowing, I guess, is the appropriate word. Now, as we've finished, I'd like to do something I don't really do very much here, and that is promote myself. If you like what you see, please consider sharing the content. Liking the video really helps. If you'd like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon. I also have a, I believe you call it Coffee, And because my mods told me to get this a while ago, and I do occasionally mention it, there is an Amazon wishlist linked down below. It's mostly whiskey. I'm totally fine with that. Anyway, thank you for listening, everyone. See you tomorrow for Exhibition of Stupid People. Ta-ta.